Hey guys, today we're going on our second virtual gun show tour. I'm glad to take you along with me. We're going to go to a gun show virtually and just walk around and see some guns. I have 4 tables that I want to show you of various guns, something surely of interest to you. Now, be prepared for sticker shock. Honestly, when I go to shows or I'm on auctions, everything is really high right now. Prices are going up. Hey, have you filled up your gas tank lately? I was shocked. It was double what I was used to. But anyway, I go to gun shows. 2 things that I will point out. It's a lot harder to find the really good stuff. I often go to shows and there's really nothing for me to buy. Now, I can always buy something for other people, but nothing for my personal collection because all the really good stuff is in safes and not coming out, generally. And then secondly, when I do find something I want, the price is a lot higher. So come along with me. If it's morning, grab a cup of coffee, relax. Remember, this is the best gun show ever. No parking problems, no walking around with your feet getting tired, no haggling. Just sit back and enjoy. If it's the afternoon, get your favorite adult beverage and join me for the gun show. Okay, we're at this table, and I'm going to start at the back, but before I do, notice that this guy has a lot of rifles. Now, most of those rifles are K98s, and most of the K98s are bolt is non-matching. So basically, the bolts and the rifles were thrown in piles separately. We've done videos about that before, and then later, the wholesalers just came in and threw them together. So basically, a lot of times, the bolt doesn't match the rifles, and that's the case of most of these. The mismatched bolts they're averaging about $1,100 a piece. If you're interested in one, I'm not going to go through all those. You can keep an eye on the site or Gunbroker, or just contact us. Some are a little bit more and some are a little bit less, but all in the 1,100 range. And it really depends on if the stocks have not been sanded and if the other parts are all matching. And you can see, like on the finish here, this one, beautiful finish. Some of these are beautiful guns, but the bolts are mismatched. But I'm not going to look at those today. I'm just going to take a quick look at some pistols. And here's the first one. This is a CYQ. I wanted to show this one to you because it has me bemiffed. If you're outside of the United States, you might have to look up bemiffed. This has me bemiffed because so it's an aerial. It's an early serial. Aerial is early in serial. Early serial meaning no suffix. Notice there, here, no suffix. The proofs are all correct, but it has the cog hammer. Now, the cog hammer was a late feature, 1945, so I don't know how they go together, but it is an anomaly for sure. It could be that this was added later. It's more likely that these were parts left over in the factory, like the font on this looks different than the font here. It is matching here. The locking block is matching. Just a real interesting gun. Here is the price. Actually, that's very cheap for a nice looking P38, but I think the owner of this table was probably allowing for the fact that you have to tell the story on how that happened. No, by the way, no import marks and no Russian X. Here's 2 small caliber weapons. This is obviously a Walther Model 8. Has the Walther banner original magazine, the Walther grips, and finish on this is beautiful. Front strap's very nice. Back strap. Those of you who keep track of serial numbers, you can check out which model it is. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm just walking the show, and there is the price. This is a 1910. I sometimes refer to this as the baby Mauser, kind of like the baby Nambu. It has a 34 style grip. Notice the hump, but it is a 25 caliber. Front strap is beautiful, and here's the other side with the Crown U proof marks. A little scratch here. Beautiful grips though, and correct magazine. Not Walther banner, Mauser banner magazine. Nice looking gun, and there it is, 1910 Mauser, baby. There's the price. This is a Remington UMC. I usually wouldn't even pick it up, but this is much better than most that I see. It is in 32 caliber. It is made in the United States, and you can see the caliber here, 32 caliber, Remington UMC, and oh, the Fire Blue. I wanted to point out the Fire Blue. Now, if you're interested in this one, a lot of times when I'm at a gun show, I have to have my trusty magnifying glass and light because there's something going on right here, but my eyes are bad enough and the lighting at the shows are often bad. So I look under magnification, and believe it or not, somebody scratched an arrow and it says lock. And that is when you put this up, then it locks it. It's a safe. The slide won't come back. So they took it upon themselves to add a factory option, which is identifying push up to lock the slide. And there's the price. By the way, a suggestion, if you own a collectible gun, please don't scratch your initials or lock on it. This is a dual-tone pistol. It's an SVW 45. The phosphated parts are a little bit darker, but they did experiment with different color phosphates. Some are a greenish tinge, some of are gray. Sometimes it's hard to tell the barrel from the slide and frame, but here you can see that it's a dual tone. This is blued and this is phosphate. So the frame is phosphated, the slide is phosphated, the barrel is blued, and SVW in the E block. The last ones made were in the F block. This is in the E block, and there is the price. Okay, this is a cute little, I was going to say 25 caliber, but it's not. That's 32 caliber. It's a 32 caliber, yeah, 7.65, German made by Sauer, actually. And Germany mark means it was made for export, most likely to the United States. Notice the Fire Blue here, Fire Blue up here. Just beautiful condition, front straps, back straps, better than most. So a 1913 Sauer, model 1913. And that's the price because it's better than most. Now, U.S. collectors, here you go. Unit switch and signal. You all know that this is one of the rarer, of course, the Singer would be a lot more rare, but this is one of the rarer makers. Union Switch and Signal, made in Swissvale, PA, out near Pittsburgh. And there was something about this. Yeah, it's been reworked. There's initials on here, so it was probably reparkerized. I see Rock Island, I think. Not Rock Island Auction, but Rock Island Arsenal. So it has some Arsenal markings, and that brings the price down. It's a beautiful gun, but that brings the price down. Yes, that is the price being down. All original ones are selling for $8,500 and up in this condition. Okay, there's a couple of my viewers, actually people who like to attend the gun shows with me, who are sitting up and taking notice. Sit up and take notice. This is a KU. Now, Randy and I have been working on a Third Reich Luger's book. We just finished the chapter on KU. Some are KU before, some are KU after. This is obviously KU after. And we do discuss that there is a mystery about the KU. We know that they were put together with Mauser parts, leftover Mauser parts, and you can see this is a BYF 41. So these were leftover Mauser parts. That's all typical. But after they were assembled, they do have a Luftwaffe stamp. That's the late L2 proof. So that's a you can barely see it, but you'll take my word for it. That's a late L2 proof, Luftwaffe, and then there should be another one on the barrel. It's right here. You may not be able to see it, but here's why I bring my magnifying glass, because this just made my heart leap. It leapt within my chest. I've got a late L2 proof here, but when I rotate it around, guess what? I have a W54 proof, which would be on a K-date. So originally K-date barrel, could be an early G-date, I think. I'd have to go back and read my own book. But this barrel was left over in the Mauser factory all the way from 1934 and put together with leftover parts. And there was enough parts to put together at least 8,000 guns. But nonetheless, these are highly sought after because of the mystery and the Luftwaffe connection. Sometimes the magazines are matching, but most often they're just what I call the Black Widow magazine. This is a rare one. I know people are going to want to jump on. I know some people who are going to want to jump on that. Okay, I have a Ruger here outside of my expertise, but these are brand new in the box. And If you look over here, this dealer happens to have 8 or 9 of these. They're all the same. They're all brand new in the box, and these are $8.50 each. So obviously I have quite a few of them. If it's something that appeals to you, you can get in touch with us. These are, again, new in the box Rugers, and they are 22 caliber. They're stainless. They all come like this. They all have the manual inside. The boxes are not serial numbered, but again, they're all the same. There is one that has an earlier box, but again, $8.50 a piece, stainless steel. And if you're not familiar with the model, it is a 22 caliber long rifle semi-automatic pistol. I won't spend too much time on these because these are a little more modern and would require a full FFL, not a CNR. Okay, if you watch my channel, you know one of my favorites is the Femru. We'll start with this one. Love the Femrus just because of the way they function. Just beautifully made. They're like the smaller 1911 Colt or the officer's model 1903, 1908. They do come in 7.65. They were made during the war, and 30,000 of them were sent to the Luftwaffe. They do have Waffen stamps. The polish is a high polish blue. These were made in, that's the factory code 1941. You see that's the firing eagle. The barrels will be matching to the gun, and they're numbered right here. They also have a Waffen stamp or Waffen stamp. And the magazines are going to be numbered. I call it the crotch, but right in the crotch of the bottom of the mag. And this one is not matching, but it is in beautiful condition. And for a Luftwaffe gun, I think these are bargain priced, because if you take like a Luger that went to the Luftwaffe, which would be a Krieghoff, they're going to be $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 without a matching mag. I think these are bargain priced and sleepers, so to speak, in the collector community, but they're getting harder to find. I just happen to have 3 of them all at the same table, AKA at Legacy. So this holster is called the Tropical holster, which went to the Africa Corps. You can tell by the green canvas, and this holster is gorgeous. The holster alone, 1941 with a Luftwaffe stamp, the holster alone sells for $450. Very highly sought after. And if you look at this gun, look at the how beautiful those grips are compared to the last one. You can see the difference. Just beautiful gun. Also made in 1941, also went to the Luftwaffe, also all matching except for the magazine. Randy's eyes are better than mine. All right, good thing Randy's here. He just confirmed. This is a matching magazine. Again, if I'm at a show, I can't see that. I can't tell you how strongly I urge you to take one of these, and I set them down and leave them. So now, even though it's totally uncool, I wear a fanny pack, because every time I carry it around, I set it down, I leave it there. So I take these to the show, and it's the only way that I would be able to know that this one has a matching magazine. And you'd be surprised how many times dealers don't even know they're numbered there. Because I've asked them, does it have a matching magazine? They go, I don't know. Where's the number? So that's how I know they don't know that they're numbered. So it has one matching magazine, has the Tropical holster, very cool, and more money. I didn't just do that. That was marked that way, so there you go. And then a third one, I think this splits down the middle. Interesting story here, this also was the Tropical holster. It also is dated 41. It also has a Luftwaffe proof. This is a different maker than this one. Notice the maker here, CDC. I think that's the Center for Disease Control. But this is a different maker mark, also made for the Tropical Corps, but somebody then probably brought it back to the European theater, and later there was an edict that the holsters were to be dyed black, and that was, I think, in around at the end of 40, early 41, they were dyeing holsters black, and so this one probably came back to Europe and definitely dyed black. You can see where they just, here, look along there. You can see the line where they just dyed it. And so then it just made the green Tropical holster look dingy and dark. But it's all original. It does have a spare magazine not matching. Magazines are getting very hard to find as well. And this one is also 1941, also all matching. Also one of the 30,000 that went to the Luftwaffe. And because it comes with the holster and the spare magazine, you can see the price here. Okay, here's something here. And again, I talked about etiquette. I always ask the person behind the table, do you mind if I take a look? And you shouldn't just grab things and look at them. And certainly never take a gun apart at a gun show without asking permission. Do you mind if I take the grips off? And then I usually will say, would you do it? Because if I'm taking the grips off and I scratch something, so I often will say, would you like to do it yourself? And if they say no, go right ahead, then I feel a little bit better. But the worst thing you can do at a gun show, and people have done this to me, I'm all set up, I'm putting my stuff out Friday afternoon, they say, hey, I like this PPK, would you put it underneath and hold it for me? I'll be back. And then I don't see them one day, 2 days. Sunday they come by and say, yeah, I spent all my money, I'm not really interested. So it spent the whole weekend under the table, and of course I don't sell it. So don't do that. All right, this is not a gun. I just thought it was really cool. I've never seen them before, but when I Googled it, I Googleized it, and I actually found quite a few of these, and they all sell in about that range, but they, you know, in the commercial market, these would be like a salesman's sample. They would put these out on display, but these are for the military cartridges, military ammunition. So I don't think it would have been to retail stores. I do think that they probably are they are collectibles because I do see them in collectible auctions, and the prices are all over the place, but that's about an average price. And you can see right here, we've got 50 caliber, tracer, armor piercing. Especially cool is the different loads for the shotgun. You can see the bigger ball and the small pellet, and then you can read about them here, and here's the different calibers. So it's just in excellent condition, a very nice, I'll call it a dealer sample or a collectible ammunition display. Okay, I already teased you on the PPK, so I'm going to show you that, and then also whatever this is. This is a Walther Model 9. This is just a beautiful PPK. Notice the front strap. These are going up in price. One of the reasons PPKs are going up faster than PPs is because they are not importable. So it's because of the length of the barrel. A PP is importable, meaning I can get them from Europe and Canada. But if they have PPKs over there and they're banning guns, or Canada is cracking down on guns, they cannot send us a PPK. They can send us a PP, not a PPK. So there's no more coming into the country, and they're not making wartime guns anymore. So therefore, the value of these continues to go up. This is just a commercial variation, and from the proof mark and the finish, this is about 1940. There you see the price. Now this, just a cute little holster, but the closure strap is broken right there. Otherwise, I just love the holster. This time we'll look at the price before we open it. And it is a Model 9. So I'm going to pop it open. Oh, look at that. There's going to be capture paper. So let's take it out. I'm surprised just like you are. Model 4, brought home at the end of the war. Oh, you know what? That's an imperial proof. So this was used in World War I. That's the Crown N proof, 2 Crown N proofs, an imperial proof. So this was used by an officer in World War I. And then probably that same officer kept his sidearm at the end of the war, and maybe used it in World War II or kept it in his home, but had to turn it in at the end of the war. That's right, the GIs did come in and make an announcement and say, if you have any guns, please bring them to the town square where we will collect them. They did collect the handguns from the population. And there's the capture paper. Now, we've mentioned before, they're almost always after the war was over. Aha, Isabel. This could be actually pretty darn rare. Isabel Lieutenant, and signed by a woman as well. So this is definitely somebody who is in the Women's Corps at the end of the war, probably helping out in the medical team. But yeah, General Hospital. So they were working at the hospital in Germany. The commanding officer was a major named Catherine. And then Isabel, Mirtha. Pretty cool. So I've only seen one other time where a woman brought home a capture. Of course, I believe in equal rights, and women have every right to capture guns and bring them home, and good for Lieutenant Isabel Mirtha. Okay, now I have two rare Walther PPs. Obviously, this one's in the holster. We'll take a look at this one next. I never find these anymore. We did a whole video on this. NSKK, also known as Transportation Corps, Motorcycle Corps. NSKK are highly sought after. Prices going up because I just never find them anymore. I used to get 2 or 3 a year. Now I'm lucky if I even see one a year. But we're lucky because a person at this table has an NSKK PP, and there is the price. And I know that's sticker shock, but that's what they're going for these days. And the second one is in a beautiful holster. Look at the brown holster, almost unissued. Look how clean that is inside. And then it is a Gecko, Geco. That's the retailer that made this, that sold the holster. And this is also stunning finish, and it's an RJ. Now, with coming with the holster and a spare magazine is just as nice as the gun. You can see Walther banner only, just really beautiful RJ, and there is the price. I love it when the dealers put the price because then I don't have to keep asking, how much for this, how much for this, how much for this? You get it. Okay, here's another 1911. This time it's a Remington. This is in mint condition, has not been reworked. Look, there's no wear here. Just a little corrosion, but almost no wear. And look at the barrel. It's got the correct barrel that it has very little rack wear, meaning when you rack it back, there's not a bunch of scratch marks. You see the serial range is in the 1,700,000 range. And this Remington, it's an early 1944 Remington, and there's the price. This is just, they're getting really hard to find these unmessed with World War II era 1911 A1s. This, right away, you can tell it's a broom handle, and I don't see any markings on the back of the holster, but the holster comes with, it's going to be a red 9. Now, this red 9 is not red, and it is correct. Some people will paint these red, but they did make, most of them are red 9s, but some of them are black. And this one is black. I guess that would be a black 9. This is all matching numbers. You can see here it ends in 908, 908, and 908. And that the grips will be numbered to the gun. This one is Crown U proofed. There's the serial, 908. And there's an Imperial proof. So this was used in World War I. It's got some obvious wear and corrosion, age, and there's the price, around $3,000. But in really nice condition, these easily sell for $35 all the way up to $45, $55 if you have the original stock and the harness and all that. So these are highly sought after. Speaking of highly sought after, here's another rig, and this is a high power rig. This one is, looks like it's later war. It does not have the tangent sight. From the serial number is A. So this is 1944. Notice how nice the bluing is here and on the gun. German proof mark is Waffen 140. It does come with a magazine that is not proof marked. But the holster has a spare magazine. I'm going to see if it's correct. Oh, spare magazine. I should put this one in the gun. The spare magazine is Waffen-proofed right here. So the spare magazine is Waffen-proof. So this one is correct. And the holster is from 1942. Let's see. It's right here. From 1942, which is kind of rare. It's an earlier holster. So a 42 holster with about a 44 gun in just beautiful condition. With the permission of the guy at the table. Excuse me, do you mind if I, because this one is correct, and we'll make this one the spare. Okay, there's just a few more here. How about let's do this little guy. This is, oh, cute little holster. Some people like the holster better than the gun. These holsters are just adorable. Cute as a bug in a rug. And it probably has somebody's name on it there, but I can't read it. Might be a K, but I don't know. But this is a Czech Duo, little 25 caliber. I have people who will be watching this video who collect these little 25 calibers. Absolutely love them. And the Czech, there's the Czech Lion. It's an insignia with 42 underneath it. And yes, that means 1942, so issued during the war. Could have been like a boot gun for an officer. Just take this, stick it in your boot. It's a good backup piece if you have to surrender and you get disarmed. You might get away with keeping this one. This is another gun that I saw on the table, and I had to take a look at it several times because I wasn't quite sure, but I'm going to tell you what I think, and it's priced accordingly. First of all, it looks absolutely beautiful. So an all-correct BYF 44 is going to be about $1,400, $1,500 in today's market. However, the finish looks a little dark to me. So I took it all apart. First of all, I did notice that these have been shaved a little bit, and often Russian capture guns, they would shave the top to make it easier to get on and off. So that was a little bit of a red flag. I also took it apart because I was worried that it might be Russian dipped. And again, it looks awful dark in here. And here's one red flag. We might learn something. First of all, the locking block is matching, and it is in the white. That's easy to clean off, but notice the pin is dark. That also should be white. So that's not the kiss of death, meaning that doesn't prove that it was dipped, but it makes me think maybe this was dipped and cleaned up. You can clean off the dip if you know what you're doing. So this one could have been dipped, meaning captured by Russia. It has no import marks. Sometimes they're under here. There are no import marks. There's no Russian X, but there is a slight sign that perhaps it was a cleaned up dipped gun. The springs, by the way, that spring is fine, but again, the inside looks very dark. And in fact, if you look at the hammer, usually where it hits the striker, hits the firing pin striker, it's going to be in the white there. It's going to be worn where it hit. This isn't worn at all. So all that is say it may not be original finish, but it may be a dip finish, and therefore it's priced a little bit cheaper. I think that's a great deal for somebody because it's a great looking gun. But before I put it back on the table, it's important that I put it back the way I found it. So there you are. Thank you, sir. Love the gun. Now I have two Lugers, both Black Widow. You can see this one is dated 41, Waffen stamped, PO8. This holster is a little nicer than this holster. This one is dated 41. This one is dated 42. This one, there's no loading tool. You can see that this was dyed black. And the lift strap is missing. It does have a spare Black Widow magazine. And here's the gun itself, a BYF 42. Black Widow grips, Black Widow magazine. So it is a rig, except there's no tool. And this one is going to be priced the same as the other. So let's see what this one is. These have been going up in prices. Most of you know, you see them on our sites. There it is for the full rig. And this one is a BYF 41. Side by side, here's what they look like. About the same condition and about the same price, with the biggest difference being the condition of the holster. This holster is excellent. I wouldn't say, I might be even mint. It might be a mint holster. It still creaks when you open it. Still creaks a little bit, but the only difference between these two rigs is this holster's a little nicer. Okay, one last gun, and this one is an antique. It is a Schofield. I've done at least one video. I'm thinking maybe two, but I did at least one video on the Schofield. Basically, it's Smith & Wesson, but it's an early variation, and it's a break open. Pull that back. Breaks open. The action on this is pretty good. But what I wanted to show you, one of the reasons I wanted to pull this out is because you see this really crude marking right here. This is marked, and this was added later, but it's Wells Fargo Company Express. And then you see the serial number, but this was added later because initially, if you look under here, it was marked US. I don't know if it's better with the light or without. So it was issued to the United States Army, and it is the same serial number, but then later, after it was used by the Army, it was, I guess they were sold to Wells Fargo, not the bank, but the stagecoach company and transportation, and so Wells Fargo Express. The caliber is 44. These have almost no finish on it, as it should, and you can see the grips are a little beat up. And antiques, actually, we can send to anybody over 21, I believe, but we can sell that to anybody. No FFL needed. And here is the price. So about $5,000 for a very rare but historic gun. Okay, I see another table here that I'm interested in because it has some Nambus. Now, I'm not a big Nambu collector, but I have customers who go ape over the Nambus. So let me at least come over and see if we can look at some Nambus. But before I get to this, I need to break it down to you gently. I need to break the news to you gently because I'm only going to do this table, and then I need to take a jerky break. That's right, beef jerky. Usually there's one table with beef jerky. I always like to go over and take a jerky break, and that, of course, means an iced tea to go with it. So I'm only going to do this table, and then I'm going to come back tomorrow and do 2 more tables. So we're breaking this up into 2 segments. That's called an audible. I got started running out of steam, and so are you. So let's look at these Nambus, then we'll take a break. Tomorrow we'll take a look at 2 other tables where it's going to have some single action armies and some Lugers. So we'll look at those tomorrow. I want to start with these 2. These, I can tell you right off the bat, are going to be the most expensive because they have the original straps. Most often when you find a Nambu, this is a Type 14, this is a Type 94, and this, let's just start with this. Look at this. This is gorgeous. This is like unissued condition. Look at the buckle. Really is got to be unissued. The inside is extremely clean. Usually these unissued guns, of course, would be very late war. And this one in particular, don't worry, I'll show you. Calm down. There we go. Look at the finish. It's a dull finish, just black like coal with almost no wear. So we know that it's going to be late war, and this is 19.9, so that is September of 1944. So September of 44, toward the end of the war. You can see the wood panel on the grip is just a plain wood. They did have a striped wood, and then they also had a black plastic. But this is just a very plain wood, and I'm just going to guess that we've got 2 matching magazines because, again, well, it could have been issued and then never really used in war. Definitely 110. This is also 110. You have to have a magnifying glass. It's just a little bit blurred, but 110 with a dot over it. The dot over it means the spare mag. So 2 matching magazines. There's 110, and you see the date. And it all comes 2 matching magazines in this holster with the straps, mint, unissued condition. If I had one in my collection, I would pick this one. Okay, I had this out anyway. I was going to show you that one, but I had this one out, so let's go ahead and just talk about this one. Now, this one is marked 15.10, so that's October of 1940, a lot earlier, and let's look at some of the differences. One, you can see the finish, just like Lugers and P38s, it's a higher polished finish. And then, do you notice the straw parts? We call them straw parts because they're colored like straw. People say, did they make it out of straw? You can see the pins are yellow straw. You can see the trigger is yellow straw. We'll turn it over here in a minute. But you definitely can notice the difference with the early and the late. Not real early, but 1940 and 1944. Here's the other side. Again, safety is straw color. But also, take a look at the magazines. The early gun was nickeled, and then this is blued. Does that remind you of anything? Remember the Lugers? 1936, they were doing away with the nickel mags and went to all blued mags. So the manufacturing changes in Japan were very similar to the manufacturing changes in Germany. Now this one, let's see if we have a matching mag. It ends in 475. And ends in 475. So this one is like new condition from 1940, and it comes in this holster. Very nice holster without the straps. Okay, now this is the Type 14 I was telling you about. The Type 14s were made well before the smaller gun, and that is because they made these about the size of a Luger, but then they found the officers many times wanted a smaller pistol, and so actually they came out with the Nambu Type 97. This is an early gun because you can see the smaller trigger guard. The later ones had the larger trigger guard. You also notice the strawed small parts. We see the date of 13, so that is 38. You take 25, the year of the emperor, 1925, and you add the 13, 25 and 13, and we get 38. And this is April, 4th month of the year. So you can see again how beautiful the finish is on these, and that's very unusual for a gun this early. And let's check out the magazine. We have 807 and we have 807. Now let's see inside. There is not a spare magazine, but there is a nickel cleaning rod. Cleaning rod is in there pretty tight. I won't take it out all the way, but you can see there's a cleaning rod. And again, check this because sometimes there's something inside. Oh, surprise, there's an extra firing pin. They did issue them with extra firing pins because unlike German metal, this metal was very brittle and would break. You can see they broke the firing pin. Should be a little pin on the end. And that's the spare firing, well, they put the spare firing pin into the gun. You can see how nice the finish is on those front straps. This is just a beautiful gun. There is kanji writing here, which some people can interpret, not me. And then you can see the price. For one this nice with this really nice holster, that's a very fair price. This next one I can tell is going to have capture papers because they're hanging out. Here's the capture paper. We'll talk about this in a minute. There's kanji writing again. You do see the difference. This is a canvas, rubberized canvas. You can see that has brass fitting on the back. This will not. Yeah, you can see the different fitting. This is a much cheaper holster, and this thing is a little bit wobbly, but it's on a spring. We take the gun out. Very stiff, by the way. And you can see that this is very stiff, and that's because these become, they were a lot more pliable, like leather when they were first issued, a lot like the leather. But now these are just very stiff. You see the cleaning rod, but it's not nickeled. Now it's a blued cleaning rod. I also see a spare firing pin. I doubt that we can even get it out, because it's really in there. I'm not even going to try because you can see it's dug in there. But there is a spare firing pin, probably not broken. But here's the gun itself. That has the larger trigger guard. Large trigger guard without the small parts. Small trigger guard with the strawed small parts, even the button. Notice the buttons. This had a nickeled tube on the magazine. Much like the Luger, this will now have the blued tube. Still, it's a very nice condition for being a much later gun. Again, there's 19, so that's 1944. This is January 1, so January of 1944. And let's check the magazine. There's just one, and it is 315, and this is 315. So matching magazine, and let's check out the price. $24.50. Now, I asked myself, why is this one more than that last one that was early and so beautiful? And the answer would be part of the reason, a little more money because it does come with capture papers. And this was captured by John Smith, spelled the British way, S-M-Y-T-H, and he was a captain. Now, not too many captains bothered with the capture paper, but he did, and he had his commanding officer. But unfortunately, he just wrote one Jap pistol. He did not put the serial number. You can see that this is very different. It's not dated. It's very different than the European theater. They had different capture papers. This was 1st Cavalry Division. You can probably look them up and see if you can find John Smith. But that came with this Nambu, and most times they never bothered with capture papers. Okay, the next Nambu. This is back to a leather holster. We see brass fittings again, so this is going to be an earlier gun. We see kanji writing, but it's mostly worn. It is right here. There's no firing pin, but When I open this up, again, sometimes you'll find ammo. There is something down in here, so let's figure this out. Pull that out. And that is part of the box to the 8mm ammo that came with the gun. So there was a box of ammo in there, I'm sure, and that fell off and was left behind. So we'll leave it behind and take a look at the gun. Early, remember I said it would be early. You see the small trigger guard. You see the strawed small parts. The button here. Push the button. You see the nickeled tube, 859. And that goes with the gun, 859. You see it's 6.4, so that is April of 1931, so before they even invaded China, very early, actually before the war began, well before the war began. So this is going to be much fewer made, much earlier vintage, and probably more valuable because of that. And here we see the tag for this Nambu Type 14. And just one left. Okay, you guys are getting good at this. You know this is a rubberized canvas. There's the spring. This is blackened metal, so we already know that it's late. Let's find out how late. And we'll pull this out. There's something down in here. Oh, that's just the price tag. Oh, it says rare variation. That is 1700, by the way. Rare variation. Let's find out a little bit about it. I see what's rare. So this is in a transitional period. Here's why. You'll notice the straw, small parts, but it has the large trigger guard. So it has a mixture of both early and later. And the 14 is 1939. So that was right in the transition, actually Luger's transition in that period. And then also 1939, this is October. This is a transitional gun. Let's see what kind of magazine it has. There you go, nickeled magazine. Strawed small parts, but large trigger guard. So it's a little bit of a rarer variation. It also has the earlier cocking knob. And let's look at the serial number on the magazine, 274 and 274. So all of these came with matching magazines, and in one case, 2 matching magazines. And here's the holster that comes with this. Nothing else inside. Let's double check. Nope, nothing else inside. Hey, I'm running out of steam, but thanks for hanging in there with me. I promise I want to do this again tomorrow. So we're going to look at 2 more tables tomorrow. I already mentioned single action armies, beautiful condition, and then also some Lugers. So stay tuned.